This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guests today are Aaron McDonald and Brooke Howard-Smith, who are two of the founders of Non-Fungible Labs, which is, of course, the team behind the FLUF World NFTs. And FLUF World is home to 10,000 unique 3D animated rabbits who live as NFTs on the blockchain. Welcome to the show, Brooke and Aaron.
Cheers, Andy.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome to have you guys here. Now, Aaron has been on the show before, as well as being a founder at Non-Fungible Labs. Aaron, of course, is the CEO of the Centrality, a decentralized ecosystem who are famously on a mission to unfuck the world. So if you want to learn more about Centrality, suggest you listen to that episode. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But really today we're here to talk about the wonderful world of NFTs, Non-Fungible Labs, and particularly FLUF World. So let's begin with you, Brooke. Love it if you could maybe introduce yourself and just tell us how you linked up with Aaron to found Non-Fungible Labs.
Yeah, well, my name's Brooke. I had around about 30 years, I think, is that right, in the kind of sports and media industry. And Aaron and I have been working on a number of projects in and around the transformation of retail, digital transformation of retail. And then very early this year, Aaron gave me a call and said, you need to learn what an NFT is. First time I'd heard the word fungible. I went through the same process many people have been through this year. And then it's been a literal and figurative rabbit hole since. It's been an awesome journey as we figure out what the immediate and long-term possibilities are for one of the most exciting kind of disruptions in industry I've ever seen.
Yes. Very well set up there, Brooke. And I should point out to the listeners, it's always, I probably made a similar comment last time we spoke, Aaron, but, obviously I am a Kiwi, I'm a New Zealander. I live here in the wonderful Auckland, and it's always good to be able to talk to fellow New Zealanders from our small but growing blockchain ecosystem here in Auckland, right, Aaron?
Yeah, totally, man. And it's only getting bigger. I mean, we've seen today the launch also of Dan Carter's Glorious project, which is going to be a very high-end curated NFT art marketplace. So I think we're in for some really interesting kind of mainstream conversations starting to start in the New Zealand popular culture off the back of that.
Very much so. And yeah, I mean, interesting. I was going to ask you guys about the Dan Carter A Glorious project, because I was having a little look at that earlier this morning and thinking, things are starting to get interesting. So maybe we'll circle back to that if we have time.
Yeah.
But look, let's kick it off with FLUFs. Hey, so to begin with, what are FLUFs and what is the origin story behind FLUF World?
It's a great conversation. The FLUFs are, I guess, we would like to think a category defining non-fungible token drop, in that they took elements of the popular narrative around profile pictures and kind of thought about the future of media and entertainment. And so FLUFs kind of melded a multimedia experience together. So you could use it as an avatar, your digital identity in the metaverse, but not just as a kind of what we'd call a flathead profile picture on Twitter, but as a kind of multimedia experience, which includes music, animation, virtual reality, and in fact, kind of turning your avatar into a content channel. So that's the kind of broad concept around the FLUF itself. And then even broader is FLUF World, which is kind of a universe of characters and experiences that build out from the FLUF characters themselves. And so as we kind of evolve this, there'll be other types of experiences that are introduced into that multimedia environment, collaborations, games, characters, and kind of build out this really rich experience, this really rich franchise around these kind of next generation media is probably the probably the kind of broadest way to describe what's happening in this space. Brooke can probably give you a bit of a shot on the origin story of how we got to FLUFs.
I mean, in terms of, we've got a kind of a creative genius. So literally, Jesse has a bunny that doesn't realize, like a little pet bunny that doesn't realize it's the inspiration for a so far $45 million kind of in sales company. It's so literally there's an actual rabbit that's the inspiration. The sense of what I love about this project is starting out with an avatar, like an interesting avatar, and everyone is allocated in the mint an avatar, and those that don't get it kind of search for them, and people now are scrambling to find their own one that visually represents them or something that they really enjoy. But the sense of building a universe out from these avatars outwards is pretty exciting, and kind of Aaron alluded to this, it flips everything on its head. Instead of starting with the Titan companies building out like the metaverse for us and then we arrive at it, it's more of a sense of, okay, let's build out personas, digital personas, find all the things that we love, put them all into a wallet and or into an avatar, and then build out the metaverse from there. Yeah,
and Non-Fungible Labs itself, we founded.
Oh, so that's what you were leading me to.
More than 6 months ago, as this kind of space was starting to get a bit more attention, we realized that there were going to be a bunch of people who were talented creatives, but just didn't kind of understand how to take that creativity and channel it into this new technology domain and new community engagement domain. And so we formed that to help creators kind of build, collections and projects and art in the space. And so we had a couple of projects prior to this, and we learned a lot from those, and we've taken elements of that into the way the FLUF World concept's building out.
Yeah, to expand on that with a slightly better answer than I gave out before, but for 30 years now, the digital world has promised that creatives would be rewarded for the work that they're doing because they drive all the value in the industry, right? So all that value expands from the creatives. And for 30 years, we've been disappointed with every incarnation, right through to incarnations like Spotify that pay the actual artists very little. And we've found in the last 3 months why this is exploding and why every single artist is heading towards this area is artists are finally being compensated with decent amounts of money for the work that they're doing. And so Non-Fungible Labs has always set out on a mission to try to bridge that gap, get rid of all the inefficiencies and connect artists to their fans.
Very nice, gentlemen. And yeah, so in that sense then, I guess FLUF World, it's not the first project to come out of the lab, and it certainly won't be the last. But I'm also fascinated by the idea, most NFT drops, they start out this way. So you've got a limited run, say, 10,000 is a common number. So I just love it, Aaron, if maybe you could kind of dig into how you construct, the different, I guess, attributes and categories of the different features that make up each FLUF character, and how that leads to some FLUFs being rarer than others, and kind of how that works from a programmatic generative angle, because that's kind of the key bit behind a lot of these drops, and I don't think a lot of people understand how that works.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. There's kind of two dynamics at play when you build out collections like this. The really interesting things that has emerged as these cultural collectives, right? And so having some kind of limited size to the collection provides the opportunity to create a strong cultural collective, and get a core community that's supporting the journey of the evolution of that collection. It also kind of creates this notion of scarcity, right? Which is something that helps people to understand how they can drive value. If there are more people wanting a limited thing, then that's something that they can help drive, then they can help create value in the collection. So those are kind of I think the reasons why people put those parameters around a collection. The second layer to that, like you've mentioned, is this notion of individual traits. And when we planned out the FLUFs, we were really careful to make sure that everyone felt like they had something unique. And if you're going to use this thing as an avatar, you want people to identify and recognize you. And so the way the trait mapping worked for us is we had quadrillions of different possible combinations, but we wanted to make sure there was at least 2 degrees of separation between each FLUF in terms of the trait mix. And so you program that into the way that the generative algorithm works. The other thing is weighting. So we wanted to have certain features be more rare than other features. And so you put a weighting against those features in the algorithm. And what spits out the end of that is a set of attributes that the algorithm has chosen. And then those attributes are then combined. You pull the individual object files that make up, say, a hat or a pair of sunglasses or something around the neck or whatever it happens to be. And then the machine assembles those objects into the final FLUF and then renders it. We had to come up with a whole pipeline for doing that, because a lot of the stuff out there is all 2D. And when you go to 3D, there's a whole bunch of new challenges about making those characters, really visually appealing. And we wanted FLUFs to be a very high quality project as well.
Yeah, well, and that's such a good point, Aaron. You're exactly right. I think FLUFs are one of the first really, as you say, a 3D avatar look where the character is, constantly moving against this, interesting backdrop or environment where the FLUF is sitting, and there's music as well. So, this is one of, this is one of the reasons why FLUF World has taken taken the NFT community by storm, you'd almost say, because you're sort of one of the first to have that full 3D audio visual experience, right?
Yeah, and really high definition too. Exactly, one thing we think, the space evolves quite quickly, and the money and capital that's coming into it and the players that are coming into it, we're going to see a very quick evolution from relatively lo-fi experiences up to hi-fi experiences. And FLUFs have physics in the fur. That's how high def they are. So when we're kind of exploring how we build this out, we're not just looking at what's available now. We're looking at what's coming in the near future, because as these worlds evolve, and you want your character to be in those worlds, and the fidelity of those worlds evolves, you want to have the best looking thing in that world. You've got flathead projects that are trying to create, smooth skin 3D versions of their flatheads. And then and that's a hard jump to do. It's taking them a long time to do that. These are companies with billions of dollars. And then you imagine what it's going to take for them to go to a high definition environment when those become available. That's another huge lift on top of that again. And so we've got this really good, content adaptability roadmap where we start at the highest possible quality, and then we can provide avatars down the stream, right down to voxels, so that you can participate across those meta environments. But we're not constantly playing catch up to where the best experience is.
And I think that comes from a made for purpose approach. Like this from day one, this was always a metaverse avatar, not a picture that we were trying to make some money off of, right? That's the idea. It was never just a profile pic.
That's right. And well, look, Brooke, I know I've been fascinated to watch you kind of go on your metaverse journey this year, Brooke. And so we'll talk more about the metaverse soon. But before we do that, Brooke, the other thing that is really catching on with FLUF is FLUF World. You know, Aaron alluded to it, but it's really the roadmap that you guys have mapped out. And a lot of projects always, even back to the ICO days, it's one thing to lay out a roadmap, but you've got to have confidence in the team being able to execute. And I think you guys have proven that you can execute. So in the context of that, Brooke, let's tell us some of the interesting, exciting, what's on the roadmap, Brooke? I know, because I know there's some good stuff to really give these rabbits some quite incredible superpowers, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of disclaimers here.
And no alpha leaks.
Yeah, here's a disclaimer. Disclaimer one. I never know what we're supposed to be saying and not saying, and so disclaimer, like I guess caveat two is, as a result, people just stop telling me things about the road. So often I'll be, Aaron is definitely better to give you the exact what's happening, right, like in the near future. But I can get to some of the vision stuff. I'm just terrified that I'll leak something else. Every podcast I say something and I get like a little text or a message on the computer from Aaron saying, "Shut up now." One of the challenges we have is that one of the advantages. So let's talk through the advantages. The first advantage is that by the time we had built Non-Fungible Labs, Aaron had 59 other blockchain ventures in the Centrality and NetX ecosystem that were working on all sorts of solutions in the DeFi and logistics areas. But obviously, a whole bunch of those are the building blocks for NFT functionality as well. And so if you look at just the last 10 days, and I'm always surprised, by the way, by even our most ardent FLUF fans are like, what's next? You've just delivered some amazing functionality. And they're like, well, okay, now what's next? But in the last 10 days, Silo, which is one of the ecosystem companies, came out with, in addition, a FLUF feature in their wallet so that you can easily send FLUFs to each other. It's a world first. And then 48 hours ago, another one of Aaron's core projects, Altered State Machine, which is a venture that is building AI into NFTs, so making the smart contracts actually smart. And Aaron can go more into ASM's integration. So there are some things that everyone knows, but as we progress, the roadmap just gets more and more towards this idea of a fully functional multimedia platform that delivers value to artists, from being able to host a live event. Democratizing hosting virtual live events is going to be significant in itself.
If I kind of talk about the stuff that we've already communicated, like the near-term stuff is all about building new tools for content creators to use their NFT as a distribution point for content. So one of the interesting things around FLUFs is that the backgrounds of your FLUF and the audio of your FLUF can be swapped out. And so we'll be using this for a number of mechanics in the FLUF world and the FLUF metagame as it evolves. From how breeding works, for example, through to allowing brands to engage with an audience via their FLUF avatar. If you kind of take that to the next step, we want to make those tools social. So now people experience FLUFs through, OpenSea, for example, or some kind of wallet. Where they can view it, and in Silo's case, can now start to have person-to-person interactions with their FLUF. We're going to evolve that to the next level and allow social interactions with your FLUF, and use the attributes associated with FLUF to deepen the social clicks that exist within the collection. So you already see people forming up Red Zombie Gang or Lambo Gang or Nitrate Gang. So allowing these people to create social groups within the context of social media tools is something that's really important for us in our roadmap. Then you kind of go on from there into the expansion of the FLUF universe. We'll be releasing some more details on the lore as it evolves in a map of FLUF World. So people will get to see a little hint about perhaps where new collections will evolve and new features will come out. We've already talked publicly about building our own virtual world spaces, because no one right now can support the high quality, high definition features of a FLUF. So we're going to build that ourselves. And that's all the stuff that's kind of been publicly talked about. There is a shoot load of stuff below the line, which we haven't even mentioned yet. But there's some really cool things in the collaboration space. There's really cool things in the live event space. There's awesome stuff coming down in the game space. So yeah, there's plenty going on. And I think you can, our vision isn't to make FLUF Worlds, a profile picture community. It's Disney. That's where the vision is. We want this to be a rich multimedia experience for a large global community.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, funny that you should say, the aspiration is Disney, Aaron, because yeah, I mean, that's I hear a similar sentiment from I guess a few different crypto founders at the moment, and it's like you literally could not aim higher, right? But you also, so I suppose we're really going to really digging into the metaverse now, and you said something interesting. I think, Aaron, you talked about the FLUF metagame. So yeah, love both of you. Just give me your kind of like high level take on what we mean by what is the FLUF metagame.
I'll probably give the high level overview, and then Brooke can kind of drill into some of the experiences which we've had with people playing in the metagame. So another thing we did with FLUFs, which was part of the long-term planning of the roadmap, was to bury little bits of treasure in the collection. So all throughout the collection, within the interfaces, within the social communities, our websites, the underground members area, and even shortly in the real physical world, there are little bits of treasure for people to find about, to kind of deepen their engagement with the FLUF world. And so this could be cryptic messages hitting in the smart contract code. It's little things buried in the images on websites. It's things like we have a date of birth for a particular feature in the FLUF world. It's the only FLUF with a date of birth in the underground that corresponds to a celebrity. And when someone named their FLUF that celebrity, it automatically activated a prize. So there's all these little like games inside of games, and we have the community kind of constantly searching for the next little clue and what does this mean and what does that mean. Brooke can probably expand on that, on how kind of crazy it's gotten.
We've got an incredibly active Discord, and if you guys, what's the deal, Aaron? Can anyone go on the Discord, or you need to be?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, great. Then, I'm new to all of this. This is my first Discord, and so I didn't realize it's nuts. It's incredibly active. And a lot of this is just being left out there. So you build 10,000 unique characters, and then Aaron will say, right, there's breeding. And that sent the industry and the FLUF, the FLUFL, it's called the FLUFL, by the way. That's a large group, the collective group, into disarray. And so people have now been collecting their FLUFs to build breeding partners in ways that they're only guessing, because it's a metagame in terms of how to best optimize breeding for the FLUFs in order to produce the best FLUFlets, which will then obviously be valuable. And so jump in the Discord if you get a chance. It is absolutely amazing. But people are constantly searching. There are whole Easter egg hunts. There are people we've actually got a FLUFs Anonymous channel in the Discord where people are helping moderate each other's addiction to the ecosystem. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the types of things that the community's digging into is amazing. Like, they're picking up on every little nuance in the way that things have been built and rolled out and communicated. And some of them, they lead to a treasure at the end of the trail, and some of them are fantastical dead ends. We had one community member look at the way that nails were nailed into a fence post and an image on the website, and try to turn those into
Morse code.
chords, Morse code.
Oh no, there was a Morse code on a different one. Yeah, you thought they were chords in a music thing, right?
Chords in a piece of music, and try and translate that. So like people are going deep, and it's really cool to see, because it makes it much more of an engaging thing. And as we roll out new features, you'll start to see more and more of those hidden traits emerge as cool things that people didn't know they were going to get, and they can be surprised with.
Yeah, nice. And I think the Discord experience, right? And look, I'm in the FLUF World Discord, and I'm in a number of other Discords, and I'm sure you guys will relate to this. It's just because, as more and more interesting NFT projects pop up, you sort of feel that, if you want to have any chance with engaging or being able to mint one, you have to join the Discord. And then each Discord becomes its own little kind of mini treasure hunt, right? And you can see that this is just NFTs alone have kind of incentivized and inspired a whole new digital generation, and it's really just kind of crypto natives. And so on the kind of global scale, it is very small and early, but so you can just see that over the next 5 to 10 years, things are going to get quite weird, right?
Well, I was trying to explain to someone this morning. So the last figures that I had were just under 200,000 wallets at the end of May, active wallets on OpenSea. Now that's 1.2 million now active wallets. So obviously a couple of months, it's expanded tenfold, but that's still a tiny number. And I try to explain to people that NFTs have such hyper function for communities that every single community on the planet will get significant value. For my sins, I was the vice president of the Palm and Cycad Society. Now it's like I love plants. Plant clubs will love NFTs. They'll find functionality from them. Stamp collectors, basketball fans already have, but there's 10,000 sports out there that haven't discovered that this is a great way to incentivize your athletes, to give them more value, to bring people into the stadiums and to watch the content that the sport is creating. And so every single community group will be revolutionized by NFTs.
And we'll shout out to Dan Carter then, probably, New Zealand's undisputed favorite All Black, right? And so let's just talk about it briefly, because I saw this morning that, so Dan Carter is one of the founders of it's Glorious Digital, right? But I think, I imagine the both of you guys are both involved at some level, I'm sure.
Yeah, so Glorious Digital's a venture that has been seeded by Centrality, and the co-founders are Silo. So very, very connected to our ecosystem. The team that kind of came up with the concept, was Dan, obviously, a guy from PwC, Scott, a really awesome creative team, and New Zealand's former Attorney General. So a really kind of high-powered team that has really great depth in understanding, the talent side of things, both from Dan's personal experience, but also from kind of agency and management perspective, understanding the creative process around helping curate art and come up with innovative ways for artists to use the medium. Really strong on the legal front to kind of deal with the IP rights and navigate the compliance around entering the crypto space. So I think it's a very strong top shelf team of talent building something really awesome out in New Zealand. And if you look at the roster they've got on already, some of New Zealand's biggest artists and names in the art and music scene, you can imagine they'll build out some really great relationships in the sports space as well, with Dan and his connections. And globally as well, I know of conversations that are going on at the moment, both in the sports space and in the significant, historical moment space, which I think will bring a really great audience to the Glorious Digital brand and marketplace. But I guess it's kind of foretelling, and people might look at this a little bit sideways and kind of say, well, is this really art, or is this kind of some kind of moment in time thing? And the answer I have to that is that art's art, and there's a new medium to communicate with a new audience through. The world is not becoming less digital. If you're a boomer there and you've got a painting on the wall, well, that's really nice. And I have a lot of paintings at home. I love art. But at the same time, I love digital art too. And I spend a lot of my time in the digital space. And more of society is spending more and more time in the digital space. And so more and more art will be digital art. And this is just the best way to create, own, trade, store digital art.
Very much so, very much so. Well, as we start to finish off, then, gentlemen, perhaps let's get a little bit weird, which is always fun. Always fun to do on the crypto conversation. I'd normally do the crypto conversation hot take round, but I think I've done it with you, Aaron, before. So maybe instead let's just kind of get deep into the metaverse and kind of speculate on where all this is heading. Yeah, Brooke, I know you've been very vocal on the metaverse of late. Why don't you kick us off? What are you seeing? What are you excited by?
Yeah, firstly, I'm new to all of it, and so it's just pretty exciting. I tell you my story about the metaverse is I was on a group, some kind of group chat tool with Aaron, and everyone kept talking about the metaverse. This is how new I am to it. This was a few months ago, and I was like, I think I sent you a DM saying, dude, what's the metaverse? That's how. And since then, I've just been completely deep in it, learning as much as I can, specifically because once you start to get a sense of the possibilities, it's just all encompassing. And so, for those that don't know, there might be some normies out there that don't have a sense of it. Aaron is right in that Ready Player One is a movie that explores the possibilities of this kind of this spatial environment that is collaborative enough to where it's not owned by one particular company. So you can go into Fortnite and go into their experience, but the metaverse is a space that involves multiple entities collaborating to form an experience that is immersive. And at the moment, you'll find that every major Titan company, you will have seen the news that Mark Zuckerberg declared that Facebook is a metaverse company. I don't know what that means. I don't know what percentage of his team are actually working on metaverse solutions, probably just like less than 1%. But he understands that every social experience that we have at the moment will be superseded by a more immersive one that involves better visualization of the entertainment that we're enjoying, a better ability to purchase the things that we want to purchase and make those decisions based on the ability to kind of actually see a shoe or like actually experience an environment. You might want to go to Rhythm and Vines, but in the physical space, but it might be awesome to go to a pre-Rhythm and Vines event that gives you a taste of it in the metaverse before you make that big decision to buy a flight to New Zealand and come and experience New Zealand in reality. And the craziest thing about the metaverse, when I pull examples like that out of my ass, is you could sit here for an hour and talk about examples that will be better examples than we have right now. And the metaverse is going to make that a reality.
Yeah, I think your point about being a more immersive internet is the right one. And the second, I think, defining characteristic of the metaverse, as opposed to the internet we experience today, is the notion of openness and ownership. So we have virtual worlds today, and people looking at this metaverse thing and saying, oh, it's just kind of virtual reality hyped up. And maybe it is to a certain extent. Every technology goes through a hype cycle. But the defining characteristic that really will make a difference to to between the metaverse and what we experience today in the non-meta internet is that I can port my assets, I can port my identity, I can port my communities, I can port my data between applications. I own them. And that's the thing that makes the metaverse different to the internet we're experiencing today, is this portability of assets and identity. And so now I don't get locked into a walled garden, and I can hop between experiences and take my assets with me. And I think that that is the thing that separates the metaverse from, you know, what the internet is today. And the reason why it will become the de facto internet experience is, if I'm a user, why the hell would I not want that? And if the alternate worlds or alternate applications don't allow me to do that, then I'm not going to use them. And so this is just in the, 10 years time, we won't even call it the metaverse. It'll just be the internet.
Yeah, great point there, Aaron. And I think, Matthew Ball, who's written some incredible essays on the metaverse, I think, one of his definitions of the metaverse is simply that it is a living experience that never pauses or ends. It continues indefinitely, whether you're there or not. And it can span digital and physical, AR, VR, doesn't really matter, private and public networks and experiences. And there has to be an economy, right? It doesn't matter, open and closed platforms. But the key is, as you pointed out, Aaron, this idea of, I think Matthew Ball described it as unprecedented interoperability, which means, the being able to port your assets in or out. And I think, the worlds that we have already, I was watching my son play Fortnite this week, and he was wearing a Rick skin from Rick and Morty. And there was a White House installation in Fortnite, and they had Abraham Lincoln, almost like a history lesson. It's incredible. And I was like, what the heck is this? And so it's just fascinating to see we have these incredibly immersive virtual world environments already here. Fortnite is probably one of the best examples, but it's just, once you can, it's just about being able to move assets in and out and across these platforms and those kind of skins. When will FLUFs be available on Fortnite, guys?
Really good question. I mean,
the standard question is 30 minutes max.
30 minutes max. There's a meme in FLUF World. I mean, it's something that I think these kind of established meta spaces are going to have to grasp and get their heads around, because they've made their business out of kind of containing those environments. So I think, and I know, having had conversations with many of the large companies developing stuff in this space, they are heading down that path. And we like we said earlier, we've designed FLUFs to be able to be portable in a range of different metaverse environments, and so we'd be looking forward to that day for sure. The other thing that you kind of mentioned around the Abraham Lincoln thing there, if we want to go really deep down the rabbit holes, we could talk a little bit about the altered state machine, because some of the ideas we've been talking to folks about, metaverse space folks about, are exactly things like that. How can you create more richness in those environments? If you haven't experienced them already, or if you have, you'll notice that a lot of them are quite dull, if there isn't something specific going on. And so we've been thinking long and hard with the altered state machine about how to make those places richer experiences. So I could go into that for a bit.
Yeah, I think this will be, let's do that, Aaron. So this will be a good way to finish off as we start to get super nerdy. So I actually did listen to you guys talking to Mr. Ledger cast yesterday, and I know you guys got into it on that. So yeah, I was fascinated. So the altered state machine, I think the easy way to describe it, Aaron, is a new primitive for the metaverse. So what exactly does that mean? Let's get into it.
Yeah, so what the team have come up with is a way to fingerprint the evolution of an artificial intelligence agent, and therefore to be able to create proofs about ownership of that agent through an NFT. So you can think of it as a protocol for proving ownership of an AI agent. And then a second innovation, both of these patent pending, is a way to map the way that neural networks learn about things to attributes that we can understand as, non-AI specialists, and therefore build those attributes into an NFT to give it a personality. And that personality will then go on to impact the way that that agent approaches solving a task or playing a role. So a really simple example of that is in the game that will launch with the altered state machine. If you take some attributes like speed and size and agility and intelligence and strength, which are typical things people understand in the gaming world, we've created a map to things that impact the way that it learns. And so what you see happening is that in AFA, which is the Artificial Intelligence Football Association, that agents who have characteristics of being slow and fat tend towards trying to play defensive roles in the game. And so we can inject these personalities into the NFT, and then as they train the NFT, it learns to play a role in a game. And then and so you then have these intelligent agents that are trying to outcompete each other on different strategies, and create these very rich environments that are always evolving inside of the game. But you can apply it to other things as well. So, your Abraham Lincoln example, well, that could be a community curated historian, an agent that's been trained by a particular community and deployed into a metaverse environment, and you could go and have a conversation with it and learn about history. So it's kind of taking all kinds of intelligence and packaging them into an ownership structure that can be imported into these different meta world spaces or meta game spaces, and make them much more richer and engaging experiences, and develop new kinds of gameplay mechanics through the combination of the intelligent agent in a game and the ownership of that agent.
That's hopefully you guys. It's mind blowing. That's the thing. People mind. The biggest challenge we'll have is like making spaces people want to come to in the metaverse, and so creating rich, engaging spaces is going to be key.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like what's the Fortnite game engine called?
Real?
Yeah, Real.
Unreal
Engine. Yeah. It sounds a bit like the kind of equivalent. You're building an AI engine for metaverse characters.
Well, the interesting thing is actually we aren't building the AI bit. We have PhDs on the team who are AI specialists, but we're building the ability for people to apply proofs of ownership through an NFT to any kind of AI environment. So the ones that we are training to play this game, we're actually using Unity's engine to do it. Right. So we're not kind of model specific, or neither are we model developers, and that's a really good kind of primitive to have. I think if you can liken it to something like Chainlink, Chainlink's Oracle primitive is actually quite a simple thing to make, which you can apply to lots of different data sets and therefore lots of different applications. And altered state machines primitives are the same. They can apply to lots of different kinds of AIs and therefore lots of different kinds of applications. So not just in the metaverse space, you could use these agents in DeFi, you could create digital twins out of them. There's all sorts of kinds of use cases that can emerge out of it. But the funnest ones, and obviously the ones we kind of want to play with to start off with, are gaming and metaverse ones.
Of course. And just to finish off on NFTs and any particular NFT projects that you guys are impressed with or inspired by, or kind of are taking inspiration from for next gen FLUF features?
Yeah, I mean, for FLUF, I think we're ahead of the pack. We're pretty confident that our stuff that's out there is already ahead, and the stuff in the roadmap is going to keep being ahead. But one that I'm genuinely inspired by at the moment is one coming out of the Universe crew, Universe XYZ. And they've developed a project called Lobby Lobsters. and Lobby Lobsters is a first of its kind NFT collection where the proceeds of the NFT sales go to fund political action.
Yes, I've seen them. That and the great artwork as well. And that's it's such a good idea. It's basically crowdsourcing a big fund to lobby the US government for better crypto regulations, right?
That recent regulation, it's really interesting, shook the crypto community and really woke up a giant, because now all the regulators are like, wow, these guys have more lobby power than the NRA, and literally have more lobby power than the NRA. And the sense that had they potentially just let things kind of go slowly, potentially you wouldn't have woken up that beast. But now everyone is working towards making sure that there's a voice with regulators from.
That's such a good point, Brooke, and you're exactly right. Amazing how, even though, Bitcoin, especially the Bitcoin community, the whole ethos of Bitcoin is that it is a distributed system, distributed developers, no one's really in charge, but at the same time, it was amazing how that infrastructure bill was able to rally the troops, and really, I imagine things are really happening in the background now, because
I think what politicians, if you're watching this, need to understand is that this isn't a niche anymore. Almost 30% of New Zealanders own some kind of crypto, and we've been playing complex social coordination games, incentivized coordination games for 10 years now. And we run trillions of dollars of assets with no CEOs. So that's a force that will get behind ideas that they support. And so you should learn more about the space. I know it's complicated, and I know that there's a lot of, misinformation out there, but get to talking to people who are working in it, understand what's good and bad, understand how we can protect people and make it less risky. But it's not going away, and there's a shit ton of power behind it, and the social coordination capabilities of this community is enormous.
Yeah, we need to hook up some Bitcoin mining rigs to clean green New Zealand hydropower, guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said it before, right? If we had done this, not too many years ago and pointed TY at it, not only would we have made 15% of the Bitcoin network carbon friendly and had a more positive green impact on anything else New Zealand has ever done, we'd also be debt free.
Aaron and I, over a year ago, it would have been closing on 18 months ago. I flew up Tim Shadbolt, who's a mate, and just absolute loon, lovely dude. And Aaron, Michelle Dickinson, and I tried to explain how you could convert TY point, and like it's happening. Obviously, data centers are being built down there, but this was an idea that Michelle Dickinson had 10 years ago. Like 10 years, he was like, "It's cold. There's a bunch of cheap power. Why are we still making aluminium?"
Yeah,
but it's mutually exclusive. We could have done both.
It feels like a no-brainer for someone like Chloe from the Green Party or someone like that because it's something that would it's just the reality is Parliament and law change regulation. It takes time, but you just need someone to kind of champion the cause, and then things can move faster than you think. But someone has to kind of seed the idea into the sometimes slow-moving halls of power.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that feels like a nice place to finish off, gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming and sharing the vision for the FLUF World metagame as we slowly journey deeper into the metaverse. Please, both of you, take us out. Just any final shout outs that you want to give, and tell people where they should go to find you guys on your various social platforms, and where they should go to find out more about FLUF World, Altered State Machine, and so on.
Yeah, okay. And my point is this, 2017, I bought some crypto, and the initial stuff didn't work out great. But what it did was it got me into understanding an industry that has been incredible for me to be involved in for the last 4 years now. And so if you are into crypto and you're a little bit nervous about NFTs, and there are some people out there dismissing it, just cast yourself back to those early days when people were dismissing crypto, and understand that just go out there and get one. It doesn't need to be ours. Please make it ours. Get an NFT, get involved in the communities, and you'll start to see the functionality, the possibility, the passion, and it's incredibly close to the early days of crypto. So do that. You can go to FLUF.world to learn more about FLUF World. We're on OpenSea.io as well. And the Discord, like I said, join that, and it's nuts. And yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and if you want to find out more about the Altered State Machine, go to @AlteredStateMachine on Twitter or alteredstatemachine.xyz on the internet. Join up to the Discord and have a chat to the team there. Anything else on SensNet, go to www.centrality.ai.
Awesome. And I'll chuck links, of course, in the show notes to all of those platforms. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Hope to talk again soon, and bye for now.
Cheers, man.
Buddy.